The second piece is really focusing on coordination. How do you build a team across the organization that can help and support you? This is Harvard's 42nd varsity team. It's women's rugby. They just came in this year. But what's your checklist for change agents? How do you think about who are the right people to help you, develop change in your institution? Who's the right person to lead it? I've touched on a few of these, but I'll go over them now. The most important thing, I think, is find a quick win that solves a problem. Not something that you think would be fun or easy to do, as much as something that, there's a presenting problem. In our case with the Gazette, it was, we have this news vehicle, nobody reads it. There was 200,000 page views in 2009. It was 8.5 million in 2013. So there was an opportunity there, obviously, for growth out of Harvard. But find that quick win. A second is, embrace and celebrate, the minimum viable product versus, the detour down that long and perilous consensus highway, right? What is the thing that you can build that most people can agree we're pretty good that will solve the problem? And you do that through a lot of prototyping and a lot of engagement. Another tactic we have for pulling off the big projects is by getting, leadership like the president to sign off on a strategy brief versus on creative. So what are the things, what are the results we want in the world? Versus how are we going to get there, and what color blue do you really think is right to go with that crimson? A third is, to allow risk, but define what's acceptable failure. We're in a capital campaign now. That's an important, fundraising effort. There are things absolutely we should continue to iterate and take risks with. There are things that would be very foolhardy to do right now. So finding out what that balance is and sort of setting a perimeter, like geo-fencing your risk area, I think is really important. So people know where is inbound to try and experiment with new things and what are the things that probably shouldn't be touched. To share your mistakes and lessons learned. I think that can be really hard in any enterprise institution, but it can be particularly hard at a place like Harvard, where the pressure is on to be institutionally, excellent all the time. And believe me, there's now that, articles are paid for by click, the propensity for Harvard to end up in the headline is a perilous one. So I think it's really important to think about how do you create a culture of sharing your mistakes so people can understand, how did you make the mistake, how did you recover from it, and how are you not going to make it again, versus putting up this wall of mistakes do not happen. And when you're in an enterprise, the idea of keeping one eye on the horizon is super important. Not the horizon of the future, because I told you about my 20% accuracy problem, but I think the horizon of what's outside, what's going on outside in the world. I think before it was very neat. If you were in higher education, you compared yourself to higher education. If you were leading nonprofit, a leading nonprofit. If you sold CPG, you compared to CPG. Now your consumer, again, those unchangeable things about humans, is not going to make those neat and tidy distinctions. You are compared up against everything. So if someone who spent 4 years at Harvard and paid full tuition and had a wonderful time feels like they know, our Department of Alumni Affairs knows less about them than their local bike shop, that's a problem. So we need to find out ways that people can feel connected and look outside to what are the other, brand, human, social, online experiences that they're having, and realize that we're benchmarking